Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben Alexander. This is The Charge Show. I make videos every day about electric vehicles and the future of energy and battery storage, things like that. So if you're new here, click subscribe, consider it at least. And if you enjoy the video, click the like button. Today we're talking about the new Volkswagen ID 2 All. It's the new electric car from Volkswagen. Stunning thing. It's based on the ID 3. And Volkswagen claim it has a range of 280 miles. So generally when manufacturers say their car can do X amount of miles, take a good chunk off of it. And from what I can see with regards to the battery size and the ID3 that they say it's based off of, it will probably have a range of about 200 miles. That's my guess. If you've got a better guess, put it in the comments. That's what I think. Which, you know, that is actually, I was looking on Google Maps the other day, that's the same as driving from the centre of London en route and drive to York. So if you're in the UK and you're thinking about getting one, is it enough range? I would argue it probably is. I know there are variables, like if it's a really cold day, you'll lose a bit of range. Or if it's a really cold day, you'll lose a bit of range. And then you want to put heaters on. So things like that, I get it. 200 miles in an electric car is a bit like, it's a bit hit or miss for some people. They're not doing it. I think it's fine. 200 miles. For most people, like me and a lot of other people, you do make those trips. You do make trips at 200 or 300 miles in a day, but it's very rare. And so those trips shouldn't dictate what car you drive on a daily basis, I don't think. So if you want it, I think it's fine. It's all right. It might mean a couple of times a year for some people, you have to stand at a charger for an hour. I think that's okay. That's a compromise. You have a beautiful Volkswagen electric car. Volkswagens make great electric cars. Coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. It's the 14th of April and it's 28 degrees again. It's always constantly hot in Brisbane where I am. So the air conditioning has to be on when I film these videos because I'm sticking all these lights on. These lights behind me, they put off, I don't know, 10 watts of heat, 15 watts of heat maybe, and some light. And then there's the one behind the camera, and there's the ones on the roof. So before we get stuck into it, one of the worst things that I've seen in the automotive industry is happening right now in China. So companies like BMW, Honda, and Toyota have literally got thousands of cars, hundreds of thousands of cars sat, and they can't sell them. They've made them, shipped them to China, and they can't sell those cars. Period. That's it. And it's a huge deal. This is going to cost these companies billions of dollars. So I'm going to cover that in another video a bit later on. So make sure you subscribe to listen about that video because that's kind of a really big deal. We've seen some beautiful cars coming from China, such as the BYD Atto 3, the Dolphin, BYD Dolphin, also the Toyota BZ3, beautiful car. It is a Toyota from ground up, made from ground up by Toyota, but they've bought all the electric train stuff from BYD. So BYD are putting their stuff that make a Toyota an electric Toyota. Basically, that's what's going on. Anyway, the new ID2 will be available for sale in 2025. Basically, it's a small hatchback with a massive battery, basically. So you could argue it's a battery with a car on it, as opposed to a car with a battery in it. Volkswagen have confirmed that it can charge up from 10 to 80% in 20 minutes on a DC rapid charger. But again, they didn't confirm the charge rate. But that charge time does correspond with the ID3 and having a bigger battery that will do realistically about 210 miles or so. I've always found Volkswagens beautiful to drive. My concern is that they have done some things with their cars in the past that make them prematurely uneconomical to repair for a lot of people. So if you go on the internet for a car for sale, you'll see lots of Volkswagens, like the Polo and the Passat and whatever else. You see them really lovely, but they've got a problem or an engine light is on, and you have to repair them at a great cost. So for example, I think I heard a story a while ago about somebody replacing the motors for the wipers, which should just be kind of a plug and play type deal. Undo a couple of bolts, put new wipers on the motors, and then you plug it in and they're good. No. You have to go and pay Volkswagen to apparently synchronize or tune together the motors with the car. Don't know why. If you know anything about that, put it below, because there'll be other people thinking, I wonder what that is all about. I don't really know the details of that. Often not the most reliable cars, but some people can just have good luck with them. I get that. And you can drive them a long way and they still feel really good after 200,000 or 300,000 miles. I know that's the case. I've always liked Volkswagens. In fact, I used to work at Volkswagen for a year and a half when I was younger, 15 years ago, and I was an apprentice painter. So I think I did that for a year and a half. I was an apprentice. They sent me to college and I learned how to paint cars there for a while. And then I quit, basically, to move to Norway. But Volkswagen's great cars. They all feel really nice. They have engineers to make sure that the doors sound good when they shut. And they genuinely do make an all-right car. They're pretty good. And they're very good at making a car feel really well built and beautiful to drive. Like, they pay a lot of attention to the way the steering feels and the pedal, the distance between the pedals and things like that some manufacturers, like Peugeot, for example, and Citroën, might not pay as much attention to, but they make all right cars. Even though, if you look on Marketplace, you'll see a lot of cars, Volkswagens, for sale that have little over 100,000 miles, and they've got an uneconomical repair, and so they're selling it cheap. These cars might be great for a few years when they're all working perfectly fine and people love them, but when they get down to a cheaper end of the market, and then people can't really, they can afford to buy the car with the hopes that it will be reliable, but then it breaks and they get fed up of keep repairing things that cost a bit too much money. Like when they've got hybrid systems for the power steering, for example, they'll have a motor and then they'll have a hydraulic system on top of each other, and the reservoir is under the battery, so you've got to pay someone labour to take out the battery and then take out the plate that the battery sits on to get to a reservoir, which is right down the bottom, when that really shouldn't be the case. I don't think they do things like that anyway. But I think I'd still consider buying a Volkswagen ID 2 because they're beautiful. It's an electric version of a Volkswagen. I think that's a great thing. It will drive spectacularly. I'm sure it will. People will love them. Some of my concerns are around the lies that Volkswagen have been telling in recent years. So there was the Dieselgate scandal, where they basically made a car produce less emissions for a brief amount of time whilst it went through its test procedure, I think it was. And then when you had the car as an owner and you were driving it, it would then be putting out more emissions. Big deal. That was all over the news. They got like billions in fines. It was like a big deal, that. And then in 2019, they had the scandal where they were caught selling cars that were made pre-production, and those cars by law have to be scrapped and turned back into liquid metal, basically. But they were actually just registering them and selling them. They actually did that. So people were going out buying brand new cars, but they were not brand new cars. They were just washed and polished in a showroom. And on that occasion, with the cars that were being sold from pre-production, the CEO, Michael Horn, said quite famously, apparently, we have totally screwed a car. So should you go buy one, I think if it's your sort of car, you should consider it because it looks great, it will feel really nice, it will hold its value, it has a good range, it's an electric car, it's cheap. What more do you want, really? That's quite beautiful. I think that's great. $20,000 for a modern, proper range electric car from Volkswagen, a really good brand. That lies a bit, you know, probably. So yeah, I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Consider subscribing, click the like button if you enjoyed the video or you got some sort of value from it, and stick around because I make videos every day about electric vehicles and battery storage and you know, the future of energy, basically, but usually electric vehicles. Also, if you're thinking about getting one of these sort of cars in 2025 but you want something to tide you over, maybe consider an ID3 because they're about £20,000 in the UK now, and you could get that, sell it in a couple of years time, move on to a brand new ID 2 or